It's called Wind and Wave and Wandering Flame. And I'd love to know afterwards, then you're all here, because I can't find anything really about the origins of this. So if anybody's heard it or knows about it, let me know as well, okay? So it's kind of a wonder tale. Long ago in Ireland, when heroes fought with sword and spear, weapons were made by the wise and mighty Liam the Smith in his forge under the rainbow, high above the earth. Now one day, he was hammering out the finishing touches on a beautiful shield, and just when he was almost finished, didn't his hammer slip from his hands and go falling down to earth. It was the hour of sunset. The waves were wild and high on the western coast, and Artan, son of Dulach, was out hunting. He glanced up and he saw something whirling towards him, gleaming at first and then dark. He leaned over and caught it before it buried in the sand. It was the great hammer, glowing and dimming in his hands by turn, as if there was some living light within it. "What are you?" he asked. And like the wind whispering through the pines came the answer, "The hammer of Liam the Smith." "But how can I return it to him?" said Artan. "For unless the wind takes me, I cannot go to the rainbow where he is." And no sooner were the words out of his mouth than a great rush of the south wind came and picked him up and took him up through clouds and mist and landed him on a green plain. And beyond him, he could see the rainbow. Well, he walked along until he came to where Liam was standing at the forge, and he handed him the hammer. Liam took it and didn't say a word, but he turned and he put the finishing touches to the shield. And then he hung it up on the rainbow, and its reflection became the northern lights in the night sky. And only then did he turn to Artan. "How came you here, Artan, son of Dulach?" "All I know is I caught the hammer, and I asked how I may return it to you, and then a wind came and brought me here." "Ah," said Liam, "the wind obeys the will of whoever holds the hammer. Now, what reward would you like for returning it to me? Will you take gold, or power, or the most beautiful maiden in all the world for your wife?" "I do not care for gold," said Artan, "and power must be won fairly." "Then," said Liam, "you shall have a maiden as fair as the sunrise." And he turned back to where the shield hung in the rainbow, and he plucked a golden rose from it and handed it to Artan. "Take this rose and cast it into the sea at sunrise, and call out the name Darhil, and you shall have your reward." And then the wind came again and blew Artan back down to the coast and left him there just an hour before dawn. And he walked over to the edge of the sea and he just waited for the first gleam of the sun to touch the waves. And when it did, he cast the golden rose out on the spray and he called out the name, "Darhil." And the name echoed from rock to rock like a song. And suddenly there by his side stood the most beautiful girl with the color of the rose in her hair, the silk of the sea foam in her skin, and the color of sunrise in her lips. He took her by the hand and they went back to his father's house, both of them singing the whole way. Well, not long had they been wed when Mirdu, the half-brother of Artan, came home from a few weeks' hunting. And he was jealous when he heard of the beautiful wife his brother had found, and he planned to steal her away himself. But Dulach, the father, heard of this, and he told the pair they should go to the loch of the Lone Valley and stay on the island in the middle of the loch till all danger had passed. And so Artan took the girl away. And it wasn't long till Mirdu followed them. But he pretended he was just going out hunting again, but he took his dogs and he followed their track. And sure enough, he came to the lake. Now, Artan hadn't told Darhil why they were leaving, and so he had left her in the cabin by herself and gone off hunting. And it was while he was gone that Mirdu came. And Darhil was surprised to see him there. But Mirdu said, I come with a terrible message. Your husband has been wounded and he's asking for you. Come with me now and I will take you to where he lies. And the girl, believing this story, went with him. And when Artan returned home, he found the cabin empty. He searched the island over for his bride, but there was no trace of her. All he found was the print of her sandals by the water. And then he remembered the thing that Liam had said to him when he promised to give her him. Before she is safely yours, she must first be lost and then won back. And he remembered too that Liam had told him that if that happened, he must go back to the shore where he had first called her name and call for Liam, and that Liam would give him wild servants to help win her back. So he got in the boat and he rowed back to the shore, and he mounted his horse and he rode fast to where he had first called Darhil's name. And when he got there, he said, Liam, Liam, help me. Darhil has been taken from me. And suddenly Liam appeared by his side. Not safely yours, till first lost and then won back. I will give you wild servants now, wind and wave and wandering flame, to bring her back to you. But only once may you call on each of them. Now go quickly, for Mirdu has taken her to the Northlands, and if he goes past the hill of the White Cliffs, he will not be able to get her back. So Artan mounted his horse and turned to the north, and behind him came the wind whispering through the trees, and behind him came the flame creeping through the grass, and behind him came the wave running up the dry stream bed. And then in front of him he saw a cloud of dust, for Mirdu had raised it to hide his trail. But Artan wasn't dismayed. Wind, he said, spread before me and scatter that dust. And the wind raced in front of him, and he lashed those hounds in the dust so quickly that it all disappeared, and the dogs cowered under his lash. And then Mirdu took some twigs from his pocket and threw them behind him, and where they fell, dead trunks of trees appeared on the road, blocking the path. But Artan said, Flame, go in front of me and swallow those trees. And the flame raged ahead, and it swallowed and ate up those trees till not a single ash remained. And Mirdu looked behind once more, and he took a knife from his pocket, and he threw it on the ground, and where it landed, a deep chasm opened up, too wide to be crossed by horse or man. And Artan said, Wave, wave, rise up and bring her back to me. And the wave rose, and it filled that chasm, and it washed away the hounds and the horse and Mirdu himself. But Darhil, it picked up gently and floated her back to Artan. And he took her back again to his father's house, where they lived in peace and happiness. And so fair and gentle was Darhil that all her life those wise servants never abandoned her. Cool water flowed at her feet when she needed it. Breezes cooled her in the heat of summer, and a fire always burned on her hearth in winter. All for love of Darhil, who was made by Liam the smith from the blush of the sunrise and the foam of a sea wave.